Gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. Good morning. I'm a little bit behind on today just because there's a lot of things that's going on in my world. So, along with the storms and everything that's coming and that have already started, I'm just joining a little bit later than normal. And I may have to even shift how I do our morning Inkhorn conversations. So, if you don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Deborah. I'm the author of The Scribe Watchman and the co-founder of the Writers Inkhorn International. And so on this morning, I want to talk to you about entering into the courts of heaven, entering into the courts of heaven, and why it is so important that we learn how to enter into the courts of heaven so that we can begin to ask God and petition heaven for our requests so that they be manifest on the earth, so that God's glory and his kingdom can reign in the earth. First of all, I want you to turn to Psalm 100. Psalm 100 is a scripture that tells you how to enter into his courts. In verse 4 of this particular Bible, it says, enter into his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. Be thankful to him and bless his name. For the Lord is good. His mercy is everlasting, and his truth endures to all generations. We have to begin to be grateful for what God has given us and what he has given us and what he's going to give us in the season, in the days ahead. Even though the storms come, even though it rains on the just and the unjust, we still have to be grateful for what God is doing in our lives. And I always tell my community of women that we meet with, that I meet with, I say, as long as God is talking, we still have a chance. But the moment God stops talking, we're in trouble. We no longer have the fear of the Lord in the earth the way we need to have it. God is moving in the winds and in the rain and in the snow and in the sunshine. He allows it to rain on the just and the unjust. So when we get ready to enter into the gates of heaven, the courts of heaven, we need to understand, first of all, that God does not like complaining. You can ask the children of Israel if they were to stand before you today, the ones that did not make it over into the promised land, what prevented them from going across into the promised land? It was the complaining. The complaining. You know, he delivered them. He showed them his manifested glory. He showed them that he would deliver them. He showed them how he took care of their enemies, and yet they complained. You know, I hear things about shortages, and I know that shortages are coming and that they have already entered into the earth. Whether they are planned or whether they're not planned, we have to begin to get into the courts of heaven and seek God for his perspective, because his ways are not our ways. His kingdom is a kingdom that will not be destroyed. And as long as we don't learn to hear his voice, and that is the purpose of these Inkhorn conversations, is to begin to demonstrate and to share with you how to enter into his gates with thanksgiving, how to hear his voice through your listening ears, through your eye gates, through your senses. Begin to know how to move in God in this season, no matter what happens. Enter into God's gates with thanksgiving. That's how you enter into the courts and into his courts with praise. Be thankful, be grateful, be enter into gratitude. You know, it is a very serious hour we're living in, and I cannot say enough that God is moving. Even though the news media may try to hide what is happening in the earth, God is moving, and there's a movement that is taking place. And this movement cannot be stopped. This movement is a movement of God. So we are in a battle between good and evil. And if you know God and you call on him in a day of trouble, he will hear you. But he will only be able to hear you if you have that relationship with him. That's why I encourage you to get a journal. Start practicing the art of listening. Start practicing sensing his presence so that even when you're not in that particular position, you can develop your ability to hear God at a new level. You know, that's my one thing. If I can do anything else, if I can't do anything else, I want to encourage people to learn to hear God for themselves. Partner with heaven so that if you are called to become a scribal prophet, you can write from the heart of the Father. So this is just going to be a short one. We're experiencing storms. The utilities is not as stable as they were before the ice storm hit. So I don't want to delay this any longer. I do want to encourage you to subscribe, turn on your notifications, so that the next time I go live, you know that I'm going live. I may not necessarily continue the process of the lives with the Inkhorn conversations, but my goal is to present some type of information every week to you. They may not be in the form of lives. And so just turn on your notification, like, subscribe, and let's get ready to enter into God's gates, enter into the courts of heaven for your family, for this nation, for America. Until next time, this is Dr. Deborah signing out.